Hey, folks, and welcome to another edition of Tech Talks with Celestial Systems. I'm your host, Richard Wong, and with me today is Madhukar Govindaraju, CEO of Numly. How are you doing today, Madhukar?
I'm doing very fine. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks a lot for coming
Yeah,
on.
yeah, thank you. Very exciting.
Yeah. So just so that the audience can get to know you a little bit better, Madhukar, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you do?
Absolutely. I did my doctoral program in computer science back in the late 80s. And since then, I've been in the technology space working in various companies. My first 10 years was in distributed computing and databases in particular. The next 10 years focused around data management and analytics, BI platforms, and cloud computing during the early years. And the last for probably 10, 12 years has been in advanced applications of analytics in three domains: sales and marketing analytics, HR, which is where we are right now with Namely, and of course, cybersecurity as well. All three domains were applied AI and machine learning techniques for various applications.
Nice. Thanks, Madhukar. Tell me a little bit about more about what you're working on right now with Numly.
Yes, with Namli, the journey for Namli really started almost 12 years ago as my career grew. I was managing teams globally in very large companies across the world, 10 to 12 different countries where my teams were. And I was struggling to work with my HR partners around identifying where we need to invest in our teams. Most companies sort of talk about their teams and employees as their biggest assets, but clearly, most companies do not have the information at the right level of detail where me as a manager, managing my teams, I can apply the right budgets and investments to growing my teams, their skills on a continuous basis. That got me started thinking about how we solve this problem. And obviously, where we are today is we have developed an application based on nearly 2 years of research. We surveyed over 18,500 professionals worldwide, different industries, different verticals. And of course, by taking the data and constructing the platform, we have been able to get a real solution in the hands of customers. And that's what we are currently working on. It's been about 2.5 years of work in terms of getting the platform ready. We are now deployed globally in fairly large, medium to large companies today.
Wow. Okay. So just to clarify, Madakar, it's a platform that sort of like an HR platform that's focused on coaching and sort of personal development.
Yeah, think of it as a coaching management and learning network platform. And there are two components to that. One is you create a network where your teams can learn various types of skills. There's an embedding of ontology. We have a three-level skills ontology called the NumLee's Connected Leadership Framework. You have competencies in the first level, you have skills, which are sets of skills mapped to a competency, and then you have behaviors topics which map to skills. And we have e-learning content as part of our platform as well. The second aspect of it is we work with our companies to create a learning network inside their organization. Managers become the hub. When managers work with their teams in terms of developing, we have developed a nice experience for managers to drive learning and development within the organization. We coach managers in the art of coaching, and our teams work with their direct managers in goal setting and learning, and they also connect and network with other people managers inside the organization. So by doing that, we enable a tight fabric of coaching network inside the organization. While we do that, Numbly is about numbers. We capture a lot of interaction data. We know how much time is being spent in learning, e-learning, how much time is spent in managers in the check-ins with the teams, how much time is spent in actual managers coaching their teams or others inside the network. And overall, engagement analytics brings a lot more visibility into how the network is participating inside the company. We also have structured surveys. We can do organizational assessments, and within the development program, companies can actually measure things as well as it relates to the current state of the skills, and looking at heat maps around where the strengths are, where the gaps are, so that companies have at any point in time full visibility into where the gaps are, because the intention here is to help them structure learning across their entire organization in the areas of gaps. And that's what we do.
Awesome, Madhukar. Well, thanks for that insight. Yeah. I guess like kind of switching gears here in terms of like looking at the HR personal development industry as a whole. What are some common misconceptions would you say about say coaching or building corporate culture?
I think it's a very good question. I wouldn't call them mistakes, but things have changed over the years. And I'll give you my own personal example. I became a first time manager in 94. I was at HP. Actually, HP was actually called Hewlett Packard Corporation, because
Back
those
then, yeah,
days you had full names. Even International Business Machines was the name for that company called IBM.
yeah,
But HP, and the thing I still remember to date after 30 years of managing teams is that boot camp was focused on what is the role of the manager, what should the manager do. And each day, and it was a 5 day boot camp, each day had a theme. And I still remember the day one theme. It was the theme was 50% of your time is no longer your time, which is not a metaphor for anything. It was actually fairly specific. You give up 4 hours of your 8 hour workday to your team. And what do you do in those 4 hours, right? We practice management by walking around. You go around, and those days, of course, you would meet your teams at work in that location. But whichever location you were in, you would go and say, "Hello, how are you doing? And what can I do today to help you? How can I help you?" That conversation was part of your job, not something you it was a nice to do and everything. And I think the culture has changed a lot over the years. Managers don't believe they have a primary job, which is to help their teams get unblocked on challenges, working with their teams, forming tight relationships. And then, with, of course, the changes for the last couple of years with the pandemic, it's even tougher. People managers are having a tough time managing teams because they have not really gone to the basics of human connections and leveraging the connections as the primary way to engage with your teams, not as a way to being directive. You want to be empowering your teams, and you need to develop those skills. And those skills are very difficult to learn quickly. You need to actually take your time to learn from coaches. You want to practice those skills with your teams, and you want to take the feedback from your teams and adapt and evolve on a continuous basis. And that process doesn't exist today in companies. There are not many tools. If you look at companies, everybody says they have a learning management system. And when they ask the question, what are you doing with your learning management system? It's mostly compliance learning, business ethics training, harassment training, and there
yeah.
is a few hard skills learning, Java programming, maybe Python programming for data scientists or something. But it's still very limited to the skills that are part of your job description or already, not to expand your skill set to be able to be prepared for the next challenge that the company is going to take. I'll give you examples of some competencies we have. Leadership is a very large competency, but we talk about growth mindset, critical thinking, communication. How do you work with your customers? Now, if I am in services delivery, uh, I'm already dealing with customers every day. If I'm in the lab doing my R&D work, is communication important to me? Yes, absolutely. And we talk about examples for how we do that. So we help companies look at what are those critical skills, and we have data to support that based on the research. And we've also worked with organizations like MIT. MIT has been doing research for over 20 years, and we've partnered with them
Wow.
to really take their skills matrix, they call it the human skills matrix, and map it to our ontology. And with that sort of mapping, we can go and tell our customers, look, you may be wondering where to begin this journey. We have data to help you get started, and you can continue that journey going forward. And then we also want to work with the customers to say, to a part of it, the challenge is, where do you start? For most companies, they say we have all these 20 other systems. Why do we need yet another system? We are a platform, but we are also about creating the network of engagement within the companies. And there's not a single system that's out there that drives the level of engagement as we do. So we talk about how they can pilot the platform in under 60 days, see the results, and then they see how this platform can benefit and scale learning and development across their entire organization beyond what they have, which is e-learning management platforms and content that they already have. We take all of that, we integrate with those systems. Actually, we don't recommend replacing any of those systems, because for compliance learning, you do need those systems. But we create the network and bring the network to bear and get people learning and coaching each other inside of our platform.
I see. So really building that sort of network effect then that you were talking
Yeah,
about earlier.
yeah.
Awesome. Um, okay. And I guess in terms of verticals, I think you mentioned there's like different matrices or a matrix of skill sets. In terms of verticals that Numly works with, what are the typical industries or verticals that you guys
Excellent
engage with?
question. We always look at that on a quarterly basis and see how things are evolving. I would say the top three have stayed very true, which is high tech, financial services, which includes banking, insurance companies, any kind of hedge funds, companies that don't have a lot of performance management in place, or there are a lot of network agents, like insurance company has agents in your network and others, where you have to manage and mentor and coach them as they go. And hedge fund companies too, some of them
Mhm.
are fairly large, and so we see a lot of interest from that. So that's there. And then clearly, sort of the bigger healthcare arena, pharmaceuticals, biotech, drug discovery. Obviously, with the pandemic, there's a lot of growth in investment into new drug companies and biotech and other areas, and even hospital systems. When patients come to the hospital, it's not just the doctor interacting with the patient, it's your front office, your billing organization, your patient counselors. Everybody needs to understand how to communicate, how do you solve problems, how do you really work with your, in this case, the patients are the customers for hospitals. They have to treat the patient as number one. There are a lot of skills to be developed. Now many companies in that space have content tools like HealthStream or Cornerstone or Saba software for learning management, but those tools are not working because the efficacy of learning is not very high. It's really about 30 to 35% with e-learning management systems. When you bring in the coaching network, it improves that from that 35% level to a 65, 75% level. And that's what we do with our customers. Those are the top three. The smaller number four, where we are starting to get traction, is actually public sector,
Mm.
counties and state government and federal government agencies. Now, with the new administration, there's been a lot of emphasis on workforce development. There are a lot of dollars going into upskilling and reskilling workforces across all the public sector. We have a county out in the East Coast, one of the big states in the East Coast here. I'm talking to a very large city right outside Calgary in Canada. They're
Wow.
all having new initiatives around developing their workforce. Now, what does it mean to develop the workforce? Part of that is you start collecting your employees together in a single network. And then you look at the matrix of skills and create different programs where we also have the nice way within my network. I could be a people manager and I could be coaching somebody, my team or others in my organization on certain skills. I still have things to learn as a manager. I could be in a
Right.
leadership development program with other coaches inside my organization, and I could do this simultaneously on the same platform today. And that really helps companies create learning at different levels across the entire organization, not just for your top 4 or 5%, because most companies think of leadership development as only being eligible for the top 4%.
Right.
Then do you then say your bottom 96% is not eligible for leadership development until they get promoted? The answer
Right.
is nobody says that, but it's almost always the case that you don't have programs that create a stronger bench across all levels. We sort of flatten the curve. You don't need to be directed on the top 4% at the bottom whatever percent. We wanted to have everybody an opportunity to learn from each other. And what better way to scale coaching across the entire organization at a fraction of the cost that companies spend on executive coaching, on external coaching? We help companies scale internal coaching.
I like that. So it's not so black and white where it's like you're a leader, you're not a leader. It's treating leadership like an industry transferable or even a role transferable skill, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I just remembered there was a 2013 TEDx video where there were two CEOs, the then CEO of Microsoft, Bill Gates, and this then CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, and they both talked about the theme was everyone needs a coach. Actually, Bill started the TEDx saying everyone needs a coach, and you look at sports teams, professional sports teams, your NFL team, your Major League Baseball team. There are lots of coaches for players, and the ratio of coaches to players is anywhere from 40 to 50%. And in some
Wow.
sports, like tennis or even golf, there are more coaches per player than players themselves, right? And so you have to, and in coaching, and I always give this example too. What is managing and what is coaching? What is the difference between the two? Managing is about getting work done, producing output, delivering results. Coaching is about improving performance on a continuous basis. Now, do you need one or the other? No, you need both always. And one needs to work. And what happens when the manager puts on the coach hat and say, hey, I want to look at improving performance? It's a very strategic conversation. I want to help my team develop the skills, because if I surround myself with smart individuals, I can produce more within my team. And that's the thing. The two functions go hand in hand. And we are the other half. Companies have their HR system, their benefits and payroll system, their leave tracking system, their applicant tracking system for recruiting. They have 20 HR systems. We are the only performance improvement system, or the coaching and learning system in one. So that's what we do. It's differently helping companies think about it.
Nice. I love that, Madhukar. I love that. Yeah, it's nice. I guess using another sports analogy, up here in Canada, we talk about skating to where the puck is going. So in this whole HR coaching industry, where do you see the industry moving towards?
When you say issues specifically in the business we are in, or in general, can you
I would say in general,
clarify the
like in the
question?
industry in general. Yeah, people management in general.
People managing in general. I think the big issue is time management, for lack of a better term. We are all burdened with 20 things. And so, how do you continuously produce good output when you have 20 things to deal with on a daily basis, right? And so, I think time management gets grossly, I would say, misunderstood, because it's not about time management. It is about being able to do things, prioritize things. And in fact, one of the examples I talk about is, if you look at the animal kingdom, the smartest animals don't go hunting alone. They actually go in a herd, and there are roles that they take on. There's a leader, there is a set of followers. They're working
Mhm.
together, and it's always the team mindset that eventually wins, not an individual within the team. Now, same thing applies even to work there, and when you're managing teams, it's about the team concept. How do you divvy work up? How do you engage everybody? How do you take care of your teams? Now, if somebody is busy today or has been and now for whatever reason feeling burnt out, how can I take work off of that individual and work together? And I used to always talk about this, and even today I sort of do that in a virtual way with my teams being remote. I will call up and Slack and say, how are you doing today? What can I do to
Mhm.
help? And I think that part of people management needs to come back. And then companies, yes, there will always be business challenges. Your business changes, your new competitors in place, the market evolves. Something that you thought was cool technology is no longer cool, and you need to change and develop new products. When those things come together, you have to upskill your team. You may have to downsize a little bit, hire new skills into the team, and upskill your team. Those decisions will always happen. But during those times, and to your point, the challenge is how much do you spend on investing in tactical activities, and how much do you spend time and investment in strategic activities? And you have to balance both. You can't have a pendulum on one end always. The pendulum has to keep going back and forth. The balance needs to be struck somewhere in the middle. And what I find is most budgeting processes and HR programs are still a little bit run rate budget focused. Whatever you did last year, you add a 3% uptick to that, that's your budget for this year.
Mhm.
Now, the challenge with run rate budgeting, especially in people management and HR programs, is it gives very little room for HR to try and make true changes within the organizations, cultural changes. And HR also is faced with downsizing and challenges. So nobody wants to go against the curve and then take chances with brand
Right.
new things. They do talk about it, they want to try, and I'm not generalizing. And so, what we try to do with our customers is help them understand, hey, what if you can take 1% of your existing budget? You don't need to ask for new. Take 1% and build a coaching network. And if you're already spending dollars on external coaching, executive coaching, take some of that money out and invest in your own managers to become coaches. And by doing that, we have been able to literally prove to our customers how we can work with existing current budgets without requiring new budgets. At the same time, transforming culture within their teams to a more strategic value in doing that. And it's challenging, Richard, and people are so busy, they don't have time to even understand, and then they have to
Right.
justify why they are doing it. And so we help our customers build good business cases, and we also work with them to say, hey, how do you position this back to your CEO or your CXO or to your board about why this investment is important? And it's definitely a case by case each company, but in general what we're finding is, I think with the changing workplace methods, especially with the pandemic induced remote work, hybrid work, and other ways to work, companies are thinking about their people and their people managers and revisiting where they need to make changes. And I think that clearly helps all of us, not just normally investments in learning and development across the board for us.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Madhukar. I guess on the topic of teams and investments, kind of switching gears here, how would you say your experience has been working with Celestial Systems?
Very good question. When we started, we had teams both here in the US and in India, and most of those were sort of dispersed across different companies or different resources. And it came primarily through my connections, right? And referrals from some of the companies that we had worked with and everything. But when I first spoke to Celestial, and my first reaction was, I think I want to work with a company that is truly believes in investing in their teams, because that's what we do. And if that alignment doesn't exist, and it's very hard to change company cultures, and that's what we're doing. But with a company like Celestial, I wanted to make sure we have alignment there. And I will say this, right from the first conversation and to date, I have seen nothing but complete alignment. And where we are today is we have a three-dimensional relationship with Celestial. The first relationship is, of course, as a partner in helping develop our products, investment in teams, working on key technologies. We are doing some really innovative work in the area of data management, analytics, machine learning, AI, and everything, and that requires good talent. And we have been able to really get through and work and consolidate a lot of the dispersed activities along with a partner like Celestial. So that's the first dimension. I've been very happy with that. Second dimension is I actually wanted to see if Celestial would actually become a customer of Numbly. And today Celestial is a customer of Numbly as well. Not because we're already working with them. I think the CEO Sanjay and Rahul and others truly believe in investing in their teams, and they see that this investment is a differentiator when it comes to the brand from recruiting, because every company can and pay well and pay a lot to recruit good talent, but that works only in specific cases. It's not a sustainable growth strategy. You still need to create a culture where people come and they want to work for Celestial or any company because they like the people there, they like the culture, and
Hmm.
Celestial has a commitment in developing them. And what a better way to doing that together with our own platform being an enabler of that culture. I see that as a second dimension. And then the third dimension, of course, which is important for me, is I have no issues working with anybody at Celestial on any topic, especially for the early stage company we are. We have challenges on a daily basis. We need to get something done. Some customer wants a new feature implemented. How do we get that done fast enough? Can we get new compliance initiatives in place? And what's on the roadmap? We work together not just within the team but also at the highest levels with Celestial on a weekly, sometimes bi-weekly basis. I have no challenge connecting with the right individuals within the company and exploring new ideas and new solutions. And I believe these three dimensions are critical for any relationship. I never used the word vendor in my language for the most part. I always treat any external company as a partner, and there's alignment here across all three dimensions, and Celestial has been a great partner for Numbly, and I don't see any issues with where we are today and our ability to grow as a company with this partnership together.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Madhukar. And yeah, I mean, again, thank you again for taking the time to chat today, Madhukar. It's been a pleasure listening to your insights and what you have to say. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us.
Richard, thank you very much too. Pleasure speaking to you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Take care.
Yeah.